Russia replaced the dollar with the ruble in trade. The Fars news agency. Iran and Russia replaced the U.S. dollar with their national currencies in bilateral trade. Iran's state-run Fars news agency reported. This is from Bloomberg today.
Yeah.
The proposal to switch to the ruble and the rial was raised by Russian President Dmitry Medvedev at a meeting with his Iranian counterpart. Iran has replaced the dollar with its oil trade with India, China, and Japan. So Japan gets all their oil from Iran.
Japan?
Japan does.
I did not know that.
Yes, and guess what?
What's that?
They're not stopping trading with Iran.
Yeah.
In fact, they're not worried about breaking the law with the U.S. because they don't trade in U.S. dollars. Nobody's accepting the funny money right now. So the reason why they can still party with Japan is because they could just trade. You know, there's things that Japan has to trade: electronics, computers, whatever.
Yeah.
Sushi.
My buddy's friend, his dad used to run a bank, and I asked him what he thought of.
But that, you know, but you understand that. Sorry, when you understand that when it kicked off in Iraq stopped accepting U.S. dollars for their oil too.
Like in the euro, right? They did a euro base.
Yeah, they did, and everybody was going along with that for them. And then, bam, we were invaded them flat out. So that's how you know that we're going to attack. Also, a big tip off is Britain sending their brand new warship when Iran just said that they have to okay any military ships that come in the Gulf. Britain said, well we're sending our ship right now, and we're not asking your permission.
Oh wow, Skype did something weird right there.
Are you there?
Yeah, are you there?
Yeah, looks beautiful.
It slowed down and then you talked really fast, but that was Skype. The internet did something weird there. But...
I know. So anyway, that's generally when they go for the attack. Looking good. They're in the apartment complex.
Yeah. Beautiful January in Arizona. God bless it.
Do you think it would trip them out if you made your own like pink underwear and you were prepared in case you get busted and sent to Sheriff Joe's little pink party camp?
Like if I had it already?
Yeah, but you're like, well, dude, that doesn't even faze me because check it out, I sleep in a tent in the backyard and I wear pink underwear, so fuck you.
Pink's my favorite color, so yeah.
You'll just you'll go, I wanted to go to Joe because I want to hang out with DMX.
Yeah, I want to hang out with a bunch of... Is he out here?
No, he was in L.A., I guess.
He can't come out here. He can't even fly over Arizona to get arrested.
Oh, really? He's on
That's what he said.
Can I bum another one?
He's such a weirdo anyways, man. He's only back on tour because he needs money, probably.
Well, it sucks because he's got a great voice and he's got great rap talent. But
he's a growler.
Dude, I like it, man. I love that raspy, you know. Do you like rap?
Well,
hip-hop.
Hip-hop? I mean, you're into a little bit of everything, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, the problem is he smoked crack.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like taking over his life. But he comes from nothing, man. He comes from the streets, and he could never get out of it. You know, he couldn't. You know, it stayed in him. He couldn't get beyond where he came from. My brother's best.
It's crazy.
People do anything to get high, man. I swear.
Yeah,
anything to escape reality.
Or bend it.
Well, can you blame them?
No, you can't. You can't. Especially anybody that's not rich.
I mean, isn't that what Scientology's all about too?
Yeah.
Escaping reality.
You know,
get on the Xenu bus.
make fun of the Scientology, but man, it's like any of these religions, if you dig into them,
Yeah.
I mean, they're all pretty goofy. They're all pretty, they got really fucked up shit you got to believe in.
Well, if you believe in the if you just fucking around online, you try and read the Cliff Notes version of the theology of the Golden Dawn, Theta and all that stuff. Then you just speed that up, or you slow it down. You read, and then you got Scientology. It's like slow motion Satanism for lots of money that you're never gonna reach the end of the story. It's like when you look at it, it's weird. It's like, oh, I know exactly what you guys believe. You believe in that slow motion Satanism.
Yeah.
And it's really weird because the ego involved in it too, because it's like, oh yeah, we're gonna tell you how it is so you can be the overlord and you can control all these other souls. Like that bundle of souls, like what happened to you, you're gonna clean that shit off and then you're gonna get to be the one that has bundled up all those souls. So it's so creepy. It's like Tom Cruise really wants to fucking have like bundles of millions of souls.
Is that his end goal? Is that his game?
He doesn't know it, but it is.
Wow. That's pretty fucked up.
But they'll just keep him string along forever. Because it's a combination of that desire of what he knows and then blackmailing him. So he can't get away. It's total Satanism. It's like total Satanism. It's like being in some weird fucking fraternal order where, you might read something about Skull and Bones. They're like, oh yeah, then they tell each other sexual secrets and jack off, and so nobody can get out of it because they got all this dirty info. Or they're just fucking each other's kids or whatever it might be. And but then everybody's got busted. Which the interesting thing is what happened last year with, it was actually the year before last, when Sarkozy and the guy from the press, the guy from Le Monde was like, dude, the minute you're not president, you're going to prison, motherfucker. We got you so good. And Sarkozy just reached out. And they're both yelling at each other. And this is at a press conference. Sarkozy called him kid fucker.
Wow.
To the head of. So to me, that was like some eyes wide shut shit spilling over into the press conference for sure. Because why would the president of like one of the most supposedly powerful Western countries just fucking finger the editor, main reporter editor for Le Monde, and just point a finger right at him? I never saw Eyes Wide Shut, but I knew that as a point of reference, you guys probably did.
Yeah.
But I know all about those movies and all that kind of stuff. But I was laughing today too on Facebook. Somebody pointed this thing, and it was like one of those graphs like I pointed, but it was a little bit more sarcastic. But it was like about like all the. In the middle, it had reptilians, and then it had like the New World Order or something. It was like making fun of like paranoid conspiracy people. And these people were laughing at it. They posted like, "Oh, this is the graph. It's not quite complete," but they're making fun of it. And then I was like laughing to myself, going, "If you even fucking had a clue about how things happen with NGOs and all this shit, you wouldn't even be joking about this. Like, you would just be like, can it really be true that we're this fucked?"
Yeah.
And it's everywhere. But that's the whole buzzword. Now it's all NGO, non-government organization. That's what they say about everything,
Right.
You can make a lot of money being an NGO, getting grants. You just need to like practice your grant writing. But that's why I was joking around on Facebook, like Center for Nationalist whatever kind of shit, because I know that like people are making so much fucking money, It's so hot, like the way they pull shit off, like in Syria too. They're doing that shit so much. See, you can watch total French movies about how the French Foreign Legion, when they're having problems in Algeria in the 50s, you know, with those bombings, they're just doing all those bombings. The government just blowing people up until people get so sick of it. In Iraq too, they get so sick of it that they just are atrophied as a population. Because you'd never think like, no, the United States or something. There's no way that they could have had anything to do with any of those car bombings in Iraq. But when you look at a situation like Damascus, like, then they try and say like, oh yeah, the government of Syria is gonna let off a car bomb against all their own people. Like the arguments about all the NGOs in Syria, it's so funny right now because they're just like, you know, like all the numbers and everything. What they did is all these NGOs like said over and over again. It's like all these exiles and all these people against Syria. It's all from London. Nobody's even there. There's no media. They're like, they've killed thousands of people. They're killing people. All you have to do if you want to start one of those color revolutions is what you do is you shoot somebody and then they have a funeral and the people are all agitated. Then all you do is you pull up on a roof as they go and march that coffin from their little mosque over, you know, to go bury the person. It's going to happen the next day. You take a pot shot right at the crowd. The best way to do it is you take one at the police, right? And then you turn around and you shoot at the crowd, and then you duck it, you split. And what that does is like nobody even knows where the bullets are coming from. The police all of a sudden are like the crowd or somebody shooting at us. And then the funeral party, you shoot at those guys, and then they're like freaking out because the police is shooting at them. And they just do this over and over again. Absolutely insane, huh? You don't believe me?
I do believe you. That's what.
So then you get a bunch of people like going, "Oh yeah, see Syria fucked up because they didn't let press in there." But you know these plans already. It was the only way to deal with these guys.
Well, isn't it like last week or 2 weeks ago they even had the press over there and they were still killing thousands?
There's
of
been,
people?
you know what? Here's the beautiful thing about this. Ready? I've seen films myself of those guys just shooting busloads of people, like the guys that we're supporting. That information is completely out there. It's just nobody's gonna look at it in the West. Nobody's gonna look at it. See, because you have to ask yourself, like, who do you want to win? And how long have they been dealing with this situation with the proxy wars right on Israel's border? So they got those guys so good. So basically what's going on in the world right now is they forced Russia and China to make their move because they're not putting up with any of this shit anymore.
Goodbye.
Yeah.
Later, I gotta run, Anton.
Yeah. You didn't even drink no coffee.
I know, man. I gotta go get some stuff ready. I've got a house for sale, and I gotta go clean up a little bit before the realtor gets there.
Good luck with that.
Thanks, man. Always good talking to you.
Okay, I'm sorry if I bummed you out.
Oh,
But anyway, so there's a lot of that stuff going on. Yeah, you're bored with it now, huh?
I'm not bored with it. Just people were in transit. Sorry.
But it's only going to get kookier. They've got like so many soldiers ready to kick it off over there. And there's a lot of weird shit going on behind the scenes because, you know, they've got this weird thing where like Turkey doesn't want to go along with. There's like an argument in Turkey. We might even see Turkey split into two before this whole thing is over. Believe it or not.
How?
because they have like a big population, they have a split. They have a secular society and they have a conservative society too. And there's the issues with the military. They just arrested the top general who just was relieved of duty before. So that could be an internal thing on conspiracy. And they arrested some people responsible for. They've had several coups over the year, and generally the military has always maintained the Ataturk line. Like whenever Turkey starts to split away from its Western inclinations and secular thing, they tend to have a coup. The army presses reset. They get rid of all these guys in the government. They ban political parties and all that shit. And then they have a reset, and then all of a sudden then they form a new parliament and all that stuff, and they go back to being a democracy. And it switched a while back to them having a brotherhood type leadership, a more religious based, non secular leadership in Turkey. And the head general, the commander of everything, just got arrested 2 days ago, 3 days ago or so. And they said that he was starting another coup by being involved with these websites, sort of marshaling their forces. Traditionally, the head of the army is not the religious fanatical side that's in control. So that tells me that they nipped another coup in them. But simultaneously, as this stuff's going on, those guys, looks to me like Turkey's being pressured to be a part of this thing, and they don't want to go along with it as a country. But they're involved.
You know?
What?
Old habits die hard. Like, yes.
It isn't that. It's just the writings on the wall. Like, they're taking Syria out. And part of Syria is, like, stepping up to the plate. Because they got a whole army right there on the border. They're allowing all those rebels, and they're doing all kinds of stuff with Turkey involved with that. But it seems like part of their government or part of their country doesn't want to be involved with this military escapade, because it's going to kick off so big time. And Turkey's the one that would be like one of the ones that shit will be, rockets bursting in air right over them.
Well, it's got to be weird to be. They are like they're caught in the middle. They're like, it makes sense. They're
That's
like,
where they've always been, though.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's so weird too. Like when people talk about Palestine and stuff and all that other stuff. Like before '67 or whatever, when the whole West Bank, that was Jordan. That was just war booty to Israel. So it's so weird too, because like for people to go, no, this is part of this other thing. But I mean, I wonder if the solution that Israel's not going to give up the West Bank. There's no way. So those people are going to end up ultimately probably being disenfranchised right into Jordan somehow. In a total extreme situation. I could see that happening.
Yeah.
Yeah. Problem with Syria, man, if they get their butt kicked in this next thing when they lash out, what'll happen probably too is they'll like, I could see Israel totally expanding into Syria, part of Syria. I could
who's behind the Assad regime? Like who's putting that up?
Well, those people have had that city. It's one of the oldest cities on earth, Damascus. There's a couple of those cities there that are like, they're right up there with, Jaffa and Jericho and shit. They've been there for like, do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Like 8,000 years or more. Those cities have been there. Like Damascus is really old. So, those people have been there forever. But there's there's the Baathists, there's their political party. They've got the Druze. They've got Kurdish people. They have kind of Arabs. There's kind of countries where it's like the kinship thing, you know? It's like a clan. It's absolutely.
But if Assad's pissing off everybody, why isn't there more?
Well, you know what? See, it isn't specifically, I think, what Assad has done. It's more like what he hasn't done. See, I think there was a lot of hope that when because he didn't want to be the ruler specifically. His pop died. He's an optometrist or something. He's some kind of doctor, and they figured that he would just be all like, cool, because they really wanted the whole Lebanon thing to go a different direction, but then they ended up having that war kick off a couple years back.
2005 or something.
Well, I think later than that. The last time that they went in there with incursion, maybe 2007 or 7 maybe. But there was a lot of weird shit that happened that pissed off the West. You know, and one of the things was that side of that building opened up and that anti-ship rocket just flew right out of the side of the building and just wasted that Israeli ship. That pissed them off a lot. Because that was some sophisticated kind of shit that was a very close range. You know what I mean? Like to be able to destroy a destroyer like that or whatever it was, a frigate, or I can't remember. But it was like very shocking. But I mean, that's what happens in war. But when something like that happens, that happened in Iraq, like the media really plays that shit. That whole column of tanks and these Iraqi soldiers were all buried like in a trench with netting over them, and they just kind of like popped up and fired all these like anti-tank missiles and wasted all the U.S. tanks at once, a whole column of it. And that's when they said in the news, they were like, oh, there was a sandstorm and we had to stop our advance. It was crazy. But really it was like brand new French NATO missiles. And then that's when America was like all fucking freedom fries. And then there was really bad relations, and then they got that guy completely out of there. And then Sarkozy came in to power. That was the end of that whole era of like France used to be like against U.S. this whole more modern direction of international relations.
Yeah.
Now well, I think it is, you know, there's like some weird sides to it. There's like a lot of really weird angles to this thing because, you know, the issue really doesn't really have anything to do with being able to build a bomb or whatever, like the atomic program thing. So much more than that. If you just look at India alone and all these deals they're making and what they're talking about, those guys can't burn cow shit. Enron, George Bush's buddies from Texas, built 10 giant gas-powered plants waiting on that pipeline. 10 giant, the biggest power plants you've ever heard of on the planet. 10 of them in India. They've been waiting 10 years sitting there, just no gas to run those things. That's going to fuel the whole middle class. They're not talking about building those power plants just for like fucking the lowest caste people that are sleeping on the sidewalk. Their address is that tree that you pass on the way to the deli or whatever.
Yeah.
They're doing that for all these other people and the houses and everything that they're going to build. And they've just been sitting there with those fucking more than 10. This was like in the 90s or whatever. They've got so many of those things just waiting for that pipeline that never gets built.
It's like a girl in a prom dress just waiting for her date.
But it's more than that. These people set up a fucking giant war. They set up an insane war. And that's what the drones are. The genius part about it. It's how do you patrol those pipelines? See the whole thing? Because it's about petrochemicals. So you got this pipeline that goes all the way through this massive place. It's like as big as Texas. You can't like have jeeps going down there. You're waiting for all these people because you can't just say like, okay, nobody in this country can go within 500 miles of this thing, and it cuts your country in half. So they developed all these drones. The guy's completely out of it. You have to read like the CFR and all those different things. You know what I mean? Like when they've been talking about this stuff. See, they've been talking about doing this forever, but they're just going to tell everybody that like. So they're going to tell everybody that it has to do with this or that or the other. They're going to tell you that there's 50 hardcore Taliban and they're going to make some crazy law against terrorism in America for anybody like me or whatever that's just talking about it. Maybe not me, because I'm not against them. I'm just telling you how it is.
Yeah.
Because it really boils down to you got to go like, well, who do you want to win? That's the way it was explained to me. See, my issues are with a lot of other things, because there's a lot of this other mumbo jumbo that is just so sick. All these people are into. It'll blow your mind. No?
My mind's blown a long time ago, so it's maybe we could re-blow it.
Well, I'm just talking about like crazy ass shit. Like just some weird shit. There's just like a lot of traditional like thinking, like people see when I was going back to the like little graph of all the different stuff like paranoid conspiracies. Man, there's been tons of people thinking about what are we going to do about like these resources and these hordes of people. Like in the UK, like what are they talking about when they talk about like reforming the welfare state? What does that mean? There's just like millions of people, like where do they fit into the service economy? It's like, what kind of jobs would you even give these people?
It almost seems hopeless.
Well, it's just bullshit if you think like nobody's got a plan. Like if you just look at it like a country like the U.S. that has 490 million people in it or whatever it is, some insane amount. If you just think that like nobody's got a plan, or that maybe there's 3 plans but only 2 of them get voted on, some guy gets into office and he's just gonna, like in 4 years, what did he do supposedly? You know, like, oh, here's this medical thing. The health insurance. Like, it's a lot of shit is so absolutely ridiculous though, right?
Bells and whistles, you know.
Well, it just seems like completely ridiculous to me. They're like, oh, the president of Mexico just built the tallest bridge in the world across this ravine. It costs like $460 million, but it's going to be worth it because this opens up the road to Durango, and it's eventually part of an east-west highway through central Mexico. But it's like, you've got a country where you've got like 22 million people living in Mexico City. It's like, is $460 million really even an issue when you've got 89 million people out of work that want to like be illegal aliens? Like, you can't just build a fucking bridge. You can't just pay 2 guys who are engineers and say, all you guys do this other shit.
Yeah.
We only have like 140 million people with no jobs. Like, can't you just fucking build a bridge? Can't you just go, this is what you guys have to do for us? You can't? They can't do that anymore?
I guess not, no.
They only got the richest guy in the world, Senor Puerco. Do you speak Spanish?
Poquito.
Okay. Do you know what puerco is?
Puerco. No?
Pig, just like it sounds.
Pork, yeah, there you go.
One of them. They have like a lot of different words for pig because they really like that stuff. It's one of, you know what I mean? Like Eskimos, there's got like a million fucking words for snow, right? Because they're just like, this is what we're all about, is snow shit.
What's all you know? The snow. I can do a good Mexican announcer voice.
Un pergunde las niños grande. Radio.
Personas con poco discos.
Radio, mundo. Yeah, that's the way we like it. All right. Well, anything else?
No, I've missed Dead TV a bit. I've missed it some of the mornings you've been doing it, and then it's good. This is like the icing on the cake for a perfect weekend. So just wanted to say, hey, didn't want to eat up too much of your time. So.
All right. I probably pissed off enough people for the day.
I don't know about that, but yeah,
a lot of people don't want to, you know, like if I say we're going to fight a war with Iran, well, now it's on everybody's lips, but then you could just like look back at some other thing, and I'm talking exactly about this, but people are going to tell you over and over again, they're going to fucking try and tell you like, fuck this, fuck that guy. Yeah. But I can tell you what's going to happen after that. Even.
Have there been things where you've, in the past or in the recent past, like made a call and it isn't shaping in that direction, or something where you get humbled by something in the news that kind of surprised you, or is it all just kind of, I mean, you read enough news where I guess you can put the pieces together?
Well, it changes a little bit, but you know, people get really nervous when they're forced to think. Like, they don't teach critical thinking in school. It's something you've got or you don't have. But, you know, this isn't even conspiracy, but it's so difficult for people to fucking imagine that some people got together in the 50s and signed a treaty to make the EU that happened in the 90s. They're like, do people really think 40 years in advance? Do they just sign a piece of paper that says we're going to do this in 40 years?
Yeah.
I mean, that's like that's a whole lifetime. If you're like a person in leadership, or you're some professor with a PhD, you got to be in your 30s anyways, right? So that's like a whole lifetime. You're going to be out of work by then, right?
Or dead.
So are these people really signing documents that they've conceivably, I mean, they don't have any power. They're not going to have any power in this situation, right? If you're signing for other people that far in advance, it kind of flies in the face of the concept that there's even a democracy. It's like, why are you even voting for something like, are we going to bring this up?
So with such long-reaching ramifications.
But it's so hilarious. Like, people don't even understand that, like, 60% of the laws that are going to be passed in the next 5 years were already signed into being like fucking 30 or 40 years ago. They're like, well, we're just going to do this right then. And then 2 years later, then this one comes in force. And then 2 years later, it'll be like this. And it's just like, for everybody else, they're just like, what the fuck? Where does this come from? Like, why are they talking about this law like now? But it's like bizarre, you know? A lot of this shit.
Well, it's very opposite of, I guess, the like cliche American ADHD short attention span mindset. It flies in the face of that. So of course people aren't gonna understand it. They're used to.
Well, also people underestimate that the role of the Joker, like traditionally, like they think that all this shit just goes away or whatever. Like what the Joker can get away with that the King, you know what I mean, that none of the advisors can get away with, but the Joker's like, the Joker's right there, Do you know what I mean? And he's got the king's
Yeah.
ear, but the Joker can say all these true things because he's the Joker.
Are you a Joker?
No, but Al Gore certainly is. All these guys are. You know, like there's like all these weird people. Like sometimes you don't really even take them seriously, almost by the way they are. But then here they are. There's like an insidious depth to them. I mean, he kind of played the role of the Joker in those elections against Bush.
Yeah.
Because any normal person, any normal American would go, this is bullshit and this is why. They would just be so upfront. Right?
Yeah.
If you honestly felt like you were defrauded and there was real election fraud enough to go to the Supreme Court, like what could ever make you shut up from that disenfranchisement?
Yeah. The last time we talked, I don't want to get into that. You were winding down, so. You said something. You said something like once you go fascist, there's no going back from that. But
that's absolutely true. And you know what? They're just arguing. They're arguing in Chile right now that this is so great that Pinochet's movement and his whole regime wasn't fascist because he dismantled it himself. And so that, using my logic, they've now been able to teach that it was just a regime, but not a fascist regime.
or just a revolution, like a temporary.
Yeah. It was like a policing action. But they're able to say, they're able to teach it in school this way now. They're like able to say, you know, well, no, a fascist person doesn't just turn over the government. I gotta go though.
All right, man. It's good talking to you. Be good.
Cheers.